Call the meeting to order. Leesburg City Commission meeting. Today is October 10th, 2022. Commissioner John Christian will lead us in the Invocation and Pledge.
Can we all stand, bow our heads, please? Most gracious and Heavenly Father, we thank you now for this day that you've made. We are so appreciative of being able to live in such a great city such as Leesburg. We pray for our mayor, our city council, as we make decisions tonight that will be beneficial for all those who are affected. We thank you for our city management staff and all the people who make up our city, who make it run so efficiently and effectively, to our residents and those who visit the great lakefront city. We pray now, God, that our city will flow with prosperity and peace, and we can work together in harmony. We pray now, God, you bless those troops around the world. We pray for those countries who are affected by war and rumors of wars. We pray, God, for an inflationary, God, economy that we're in. We pray you will continue to allow us, God, to be stable, firm, be able to handle everything that comes our way. We ask all these blessings in Jesus' name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, John. So first I have a proclamation to read in reference to White Cane Safety Day. Whereas, according to American Foundation for the Blind, nearly 500,000 of Florida's citizens have vision problems ranging from serious difficulty seeing to being legally blind. And whereas persons with disabilities are a part of the community and have the right to safe and functional use of the streets, highways, sidewalks, walkways, public buildings, public facilities, other public places, places of public accommodation, places of amusement, and other places to which the public is invited. And whereas the white cane gives persons who are blind and visually impaired the freedom to travel independently and to participate in the life of their communities. And the white cane serves as a tangible reminder that persons who are blind and visually impaired are independent, self-reliant, mobile, and capable. And whereas the white cane law, Florida Statute 316.1301, gives persons who are blind or visually impaired the same right as all citizens to the full and free use of the streets, highways, sidewalks, and other public places. And whereas by joint resolution approved on October 6, 1964, Public Law 88-682, as amended, U.S. Congress designated October 15th of each year as White Cane Safety Day to recognize the contributions of Americans who are blind or have low vision. Now, therefore, I, Mike Peterson, Mayor of the City of Leesburg, do hereby proclaim October 15th, 2022 as White Cane Safety Day in the City of Leesburg and encourage the citizens of this great city to be cognizant of the White Cane Law and their responsibility in upholding it, to be aware that persons with disabilities have much to offer, and their energy, creativity, and hard work can greatly strengthen our city and our economy, and to recognize that the white cane is an instrument of safety and independence for persons who are blind and visually impaired. Thank you. Okay. Oh, yeah. That's good. I'm here for it. Where do you want to sit?
Sure. You guys all know me as Captain Scott Mack with the Leesburg Police Department, but one of my side gigs, I actually am the chair of the board for New Vision for Independence, which is a nonprofit organization right here in Lake County. We work with folks with visual impairment in Lake Sumter and Marion counties. We're one of the smallest agencies of our style in the state. But I will tell you that, especially during these COVID years, I've been involved with this organization for 3 years, and during these COVID years, the men and women that work there at New Vision Independence have gone above and beyond to make sure that they're able to get the services out to the folks that they serve, and I'm very proud of them. As a matter of fact, this year, one of the local chambers of commerce recognized them as the nonprofit of the year. And so on behalf of them, I'd like to thank you for the proclamation. This Wednesday at 10 o'clock at the Leesburg Library, we'll be holding an event for the White Cane Safety Day that you are all invited to. Please go to our website for New Vision Independence Independence on the website. We have our Facebook, and you can sign up for that as well. Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you for everything you do. It is a great organization. And I knew you were on the board. I did not know you were the chair of the board, so congrats. Moving on, presentations, we have none. Next, public comments. This section is reserved for members of the public to bring up matters of concern or opportunities for praise. Issues brought up will not be discussed in detail at this meeting. Issues will either be referred to the proper staff or will be scheduled for consideration at a future City Commission meeting. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. If no public comments, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Okay. Are there any items the Commission would like to pull from the consent agenda? Oh, I guess, hang on. Routine items are placed on the consent agenda to expedite the meeting. If the Commission staff wish to discuss any item, the procedure is as follows. Pull the items from the consent agenda, vote on remaining items with one roll call vote, and discuss each pulled item and vote by roll call. Sorry about that. Any items the Commission would like to pull? Okay, I get a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Any comments from the Commission? Any public comments? If none, roll call.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Burry?
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck? Yes. Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Mayor Peterson?
Yes. Moving on to public hearings and non-routine items. Second reading of ordinances. Some of these items are quasi-judicial, so I'm going to have our city attorney swear everybody in. Let me make one comment before you do that. We are going to read 1, 2, and we're going to read 1, 2, and 3, discuss them all three together, but then come back and vote on them individually. Okay. Sorry, Grant.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If anyone here in the audience, including city staff, is planning to present any testimony or evidence on any of the public hearing items on the agenda tonight, if you would please stand and raise your right hand so you could be sworn in. All right. Do you swear or affirm that all testimony you'll give tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. All right, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Thank you. So, would someone please introduce 6A1? Well, excuse me. Let's introduce 6A 1, 2, and 3 this time.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, annexing certain real property consisting of approximately 7.93 plus minus acres, being generally located east of County Road 468 and north of Griffin Road, lying in Section 21, Township 19 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, providing that said property so annexed shall be liable for its proportionate share of the existing and future indebtedness of said city, providing that such annexed property shall be subject to all laws and ordinances of said city, as if all such territory had been a part of the City of Leesburg at the time of passage and approval of said laws and ordinances, providing that such annexed territory shall be placed in City Commission District 2 and providing an effective date. 6A2, an ordinance amending the future land use map of the comprehensive plan of the City of Leesburg, changing the future land use map designation of certain property containing 7.93 plus minus acres from Lake County urban high density to City of Leesburg general commercial for property generally located east of County Road 468 and north of Griffin Road, lying in Section 21, Township 19 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date. 6A3, an ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, changing the zoning on approximately 7.93 plus minus acres from Lake County R7 Mixed Residential District and Lake County CP Planned Commercial District to City of Leesburg SPUD Small Plan Unit Development to allow for mixed-use development for property generally located east of County Road 468 and north of Griffin Road, as legally described in Section 21, Township 19 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Okay. Sorry. So now I just want to declare this a public meeting so we can discuss 6A 1, 2, and 3 together, which the Commission likes, and then we'll come back and make a motion and vote on them one by one. So does the Commission have any comments on sorry. Bear with us. I'm still learning quasi-judicial procedure.
Good evening, everyone. Dan Miller, Planning and Zoning. This is 7.93 undeveloped acres. It's located east of County Road 468, north of Griffin. It's a second reading. The current zoning is in Lake County R7, which is mixed residential, and planned commercial, which is their CP. The request is to go to small plan unit development. A summary of the PUD would include the permitted uses of offices, daycare, retail and personal services, mini warehouse, and RV boat storage. No businesses will be permitted to run out of the mini storage units. There are design standards for construction, dark sky lighting requirements. There's a buffer to the north for the RV boat storage and mini warehouse, along with a 6-foot privacy fence. There are extensive areas of water retention and wetlands. Not much else to it, unless you have any questions, and Mr. Greg Beliveau is here to represent the property.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Any comments from the commission?
Well, I just have one deal breaker for me is that the ice machine.
The ice machine is not on the
Okay, you got my
list.
support. That was my only concern.
Greg, do you have any comments at this time?
Greg Beliveau with LPG. After the first reading, we jettisoned the ice machine. It's in the landfill. And also there was 2 other comments. There was abutting property owners that wanted us to increase the buffers. We increased the buffers from 20 to 25 feet along the north property line, and the city staff wanted us to increase the buffers on Griffin Road from 15 to 20 feet, and we did that also. So we made all those adjustments.
Okay, thank you. Any more comments from the commission?
Yeah, I had one issue. The electric department indicated that you guys might have to move some poles. You're aware of that?
Yes.
Okay, as long as everybody's good with that.
Okay. Any other comments from the commission? Any public comments? If not, motion to approve 6A1.
For approval.
Second.
Okay. Roll call.
Commissioner Burry?
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Mayor Peterson?
Yes. Motion to approve 6A2.
Move for approval.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Burry?
Yes.
Mayor Peterson?
Yes. Motion to approve 6A3.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Burry?
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Mayor Peterson?
Yes.
Mayor, can I just say one thing to Greg and the owner of the property? Thank you for considering the comment, especially with the ice machine. I think 468, something nice going in. I think it's going to be good. So I thank you for just taking that out. I know it may be some financial implications, but well, thank you for listening to the commission.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
No, thank you. Would someone please introduce 6A4?
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, amending Part 2, Chapter 5 of the Municipal Code, amending Section 5-2 as to the zoning areas where alcoholic sales are permitted, and Section 5-6 as to the areas exempt from open container prohibitions, amending Section 5-16 as to the zoning for medical marijuana dispensaries, amending Part 2, Chapter 12 of the Municipal Code, amending Section 12-19, adding an exemption, amending Part 2, Chapter 14 of the Municipal Code, amending Section 14-71, adding an exemption, amending Part 2, Chapter 15 of the Municipal Code, amending Section 15-5, adding an exemption, and amending Section 15-8, adding an exemption, amending Part 2, Chapter 18 of the Municipal Code, amending Section 18-3, adding an exemption, and amending Section 18-7, exempting the operation of golf carts and utility vehicles from certain provision, amending Part 2, Chapter 25 of the Municipal Code, amending Section 25-121, adding an exemption, amending Section 25-288, adding an exemption, amending Section 25-292, adding an exemption, and amending Section 25-362, adding an exemption, amending Part 2, Chapter 26 of the Municipal Code, amending Section 26-3 as to the exceptions to special event permit requirements, repealing conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date.
So, motion to approve?
Move for approval.
Okay. Comments from the commission?
One comment, maybe Al can help me with this on the nuisance part of it. So we talked about citizens' complaints. It says that as used in section of the term public nuisance on more than 4 occasions within a 6 months period as a subject of citizens' complaint regarding excessive noise. Is that only with citizens, or if the police are riding by and they pull up and say, hey, you guys are allowed, would that be considered a citizen complaint, or would that count with one of the 4 times?
Probably a little ambiguity in that. As long as that's monitored and we can track for complaints, then that's how we would do that.
Okay. You just want to get that out of there so we don't have people complaining like nobody who called in. So we make sure we keep that record.
Okay.
Any other comments from the commission? Any public comments? Okay, none. Roll call.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Mayor Peterson?
Yes. Would someone please introduce 6A5?
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, vacating approximately 6,100.80 square feet of Walker Road unconstructed easement consisting of an area 203.36 feet long by 30 feet wide, MOL, lying north of Tuller Road, and vacating approximately 4,723.05 square feet of Sing Road unconstructed easement consisting of 314.87 feet long by 15 feet wide, MOL, lying north of Tuller Road, and vacating approximately 6,480.60 square feet of Tuller Road unconstructed easement consisting of an area approximately 216.02 feet long by 30 feet wide, MOL, lying east of Sing Road, said property being generally located in an unconstructed portion of Silver Lake Estates plat as recorded in Plat Book 10, page 66, Section 9, Township 19 South, Range 25 East, Public Records of Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Motion to approve. Okay. Comments from the commission? Public comments? If none, roll call.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Mayor Peterson?
Yes. Would someone please introduce 6A6?
I'll introduce and ask to be read by title only, please.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, correcting a Scrivener's error in Ordinance 22-17 by amending the language in Section D1F from 7.5 feet to 5 feet for the side setback requirement, and amending the language in Section D2B to read 10 feet instead of 15 feet for building separation requirements for property consisting of approximately 41.69 acres, being generally located west of County Road 44 and north of Sing Road, as legally described in Section 1, Township 19 South, Range 25 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Let's just get a motion to approve.
Move for approval.
Second. Dan Miller has a correction.
Thank you, Mayor. This is intended to correct a Scrivener's error. We're showing in the minutes where the error was made, and then we found, unfortunately, in the Scrivener's error ordinance, the Scrivener's error, if I can say it correctly. So I would like to bring your attention to the ordinance page right here. And then when I type this in, I got the 10 and 15 backwards. I'd like to be able to change that for Andy before this gets signed.
Yeah. And the title is correct. It's
Everything, the title's
yes.
correct, the PUD is correct, everything else is correct, but I
Okay.
just don't want to have a Scrivener's error in the Scrivener's error ordinance.
Okay.
Dan, does the PUD now require the gutters When we talked about going down to those small distances.
I believe that it does. I'm looking for that. We talked about that at the last meeting. I can double check it and make sure it's in there before
I want
it
to make
gets
sure
signed,
that, yeah.
if that's okay with.
Yeah, that's fine. Any other comments from the commission? Public comments? If none, roll call.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Commissioner Cornell?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Bury?
Yes.
Mayor Peterson?
Yes. Someone please introduce 6A7.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, amending the conditions of a PUD planned unit development to revise the buffer requirements and allow for bungalows and cottage sites on a property generally located north of U.S. Highway 441 and east of Pimble Road, lying in Section 20, Township 19 South, Range 25 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Motion to approve.
Move for approval.
Comments from the commission?
I have a couple questions. Can you give me an outline of what this is going to be? I mean, it's cottages, bungalows, the square footage of these things? I mean, is this going to be platted lots, individually owned? Is it going to be under a property management company?
Okay. It will be managed by the owner. It is one large property. I want to say it was 250 or 252, I forget the exact number, of recreational RV camper sites. The change that they're requesting is to allow what's known as glamping, glamour camping. That could be anything from a tent to a yurt to a small structure, even a teepee, something like that that's a little different, a little creative. No, it would not be platted. They do want to add tonight a provision to allow potentially a hotel as well in the wording for that. But it's essentially an RV park, a high-level RV park, where you come in and each unit, and I'll let the attorney address their representative address that, but each unit would be associated with one of the parking spaces if I'm correct there. And so you can bring your RV up, and then there's a small structure adjacent to that you could come out of your RV, spend some time in that as well, and then have a different area where there would be the camping. It's essentially like a fancy tent, a chuck wagon, something like that. It's actually luxurious on the inside for if your wife considers camping at Holiday Inn. So this is the kind of place you'd want to go. That's the market that they're trying to reach. There's also provisions for a restaurant and some recreation on that. So the changes that Ms. Tedrow, who will be representing, would like to make tonight, including just a couple of minor updates to the PUD. There was a meeting with the adjacent Brittany Estates residents who did support the change from the 80-foot buffer we originally required to a 30-foot with a 4-foot berm and a fence on top of that. So they actually get increased height buffer, just a reduced distance buffer. So, and then some other minor changes to the number of garbage facilities and things like that, garbage cans.
Okay,
so they're not scattered all over the development.
All right, so we don't have a chance of running into, we're going to have 252 different owners out there.
No.
And is each lot going to have its own electric, water, and wastewater sub-belt to it?
I believe there'll be water and electric, and I don't know about the wastewater yet. I will let Ms. Tedrow answer that one, because I don't know if they're going to have restrooms every so many feet, or if there's going to be a restroom in each unit.
These my fancy tents, is that something that the tents stay, or the renters bring their own tent in?
My understanding is that those stay there. A yurt is something used like in Afghanistan, where it's almost like a round tent. Actually, Tibet, I think, and it's a round tent with a round almost an onion-shaped top on it. That's one of the things. They had some photos in the back of in your packet that show a stagecoach that's there, and you spend the night in the stagecoach like in the Old West, a Conestoga wagon or something. Thank you, Brandy. There's some photos here of the different structures. So there's the overall, and then there's your little stagecoach park, and that's a yurt type structure. So you go in there, and it's rather luxurious, I guess, for a camping experience. But Tara Tedrow is here from Lowndes-Doster.
Yeah, and I'll just, Commissioner Cannell, your issues on sewer, and I think Ms. Tedrow is going to address this as well. And as far as I think where her comments go, we'll see in a second. We're the city and the petitioners on the same page. I guess that's me. Yeah, yelling. There we go. Maybe that's better. Okay, so on the city's wastewater policy corresponds with FDEP, and the short version of that is FDEP does not recommend RV dumping into public wastewater facilities. And essentially that's because there's a lack of control over what could potentially get dumped, and then that lack of control could be dumping anything into the system that disrupts our ability to treat wastewater. So we frown on those type of connections. Now, your approval tonight is for an overall concept of an RV-type park. The RV park would have public restrooms, potentially. The bungalows, which would be restrooms in a bungalow, like kitchen setups like sinks and faucets and restroom showers or something like that. Those would be typical restroom-type things that would be like a mini house. So those things would get hooked up. The RV lots themselves would not. So if there's going to be 250 RV parking spots, we would bring electric to that, to the park, and then the petitioners would break that electric up into, their 50 amp or their 30 amp panels. That would be on their side of the overall meter, and then we would not bring wastewater to 250 sites. Now, if they did that, then they would have to bring that, and so you have the clean out to hook your RV up to, then they would have to take that to a holding tank, and then they would have to pump that holding tank separately. But if they're going to, in that park, if there's the 250 RV spots, and then they have 2 big restroom facilities that would provide showers and sinks and toilets for their visitors, they could hook up that restroom facility, because that would be a direct connection, and the chances for pollutants or odd things getting into the sewer system would be significantly less.
So the comfort zones, the restrooms, the showers, I mean, they can hook that up to sewer, but are they putting those in?
They are, and that would be in their final plan, which would be on Dan's desk for review. So before they got issued their building permits, Dan would review that. And then if they would, let's say they're going to sneak in, hook in 250 setups, then that would be on Dan's desk. Dan would notify us, and then no, we wouldn't issue you a building permit to do something that would promote building a septic system for a collection that we wouldn't take.
Okay.
So the RV waste would have to be hauled by contractor.
So Dan, and maybe the petitioner can talk. So it's going to be a very diverse park.
Yes.
From the pictures that I'm seeing. So the ones Al mentioned, like the more house-like looking structure, there'll be permanent fixtures there where individual rent, or will different people, Jay can rent 1 week, I can come rent 2 weeks, or will that be just Jay's unit?
No.
I would have to turn that question over. In other words, is it linked to getting the RV space? Is that what you're asking? Because you could...
Kind of, it would be like a RV park where anyone can rent these particular buildings.
That is my understanding, unless there's been some change to that. Yes, sir.
I mean, you worded it great. I should have used that word.
Thanks, Al.
We will hook up a permanent fixture. An RV is not a permanent fixture. Right. A bathhouse, a restroom, a bungalow, that is a permanent fixture.
How many of those are we approving?
200 and I want to say it was 252.
That
250. I'm
250
sorry.
total, but how many would be
many
RV
lots?
sites versus
250 RV sites.
how many of these are, how many bungalow cottage sites, as you call them, roughly?
Yeah, we're still working through that.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
it's a higher line RV site, so it could be some percentage of it, but there's not been any final word on that because it's going to depend on the design and some of it hard engineering when you get down on the ground and have to do soil samples and stuff, what can hold and what it can't.
John's question, the sites are still rental sites.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Might we go camping one
I
day?
think procedurally, would you like to speak now, Mr. I think I should have asked you to come up sooner.
So Dan won't have to go to Wyoming. You come right.
Also, I was just thinking, so you're from Mongolia. My wife wants to go to Mongolia.
You go right.
You're close.
Right here, we got it.
And there are camels at the Orange County Fair.
Yeah, all kind of adventures.
All right, let's see. This is on. Tara Tedrow, Lowndes Law, 215 North Eola Drive, Orlando, Florida. So the subject property y'all saw in the aerials, probably in your packet, just a little over 29 acres, future land use general commercial. It is an existing PUD. So the PUD that was approved last year entitled the property for 250 RV sites already. So that exists today. We came in to modify a couple of those conditions of approval and try to accommodate a higher scale end product. Interestingly enough, so my clients are working with some groups that come from all over the United States where they do these high-end glamping. I felt like I was glamping during the hurricane when we lost power, quite frankly. So this was a new concept to me, but it was high-end glamping and RV parks, and the other ones that they've looked at, there's nothing like this anywhere nearby. The other ones in Florida, like in Auburndale, can have 1 to 3 year waiting lists. So they are in high demand for people to be able to come in and use these, and they're not cheap. So it's a high-end amenity for the city to have. I think it's going to be a unique attraction for the city, and it's certainly situated on a perfect piece of property for this. Like Dan said, we do have to go back and figure out some of the site engineering issues, and one of those is we found out there are some wetlands on the site that we aren't going to impact. So that's going to take away some of what we showed on our original plan of developable acreage, which is why one of the requests tonight is to be able to add in an accessory and complementary lodge or kind of hotel, a smaller little element, to be able to get some of those types of units picked up. But again, it's still going to be the high-end RV camping, glamping marina project that we've proposed, but to be able to have that as an additional use. So you can see that those cottages that you were talking about, those are under 1,000 square feet, stick-built structures, examples that we'll show you in a couple of these slides, as well as the glamping, which you already saw. In terms of support, we did host that community meeting like you heard. The residents were excited about what we were bringing, especially the fact that we were going to be having restaurants, too, one of which would be fronting the property, and it's going to have pickleball courts and be a restaurant with pickleball courts, and then the other one is going to be a restaurant attached to our marina. We've also worked with another adjacent property owner and specifically signed an agreement with him to provide a large amount of buffering from his house that he had requested. So we codified that in writing to ensure that he's going to get the requests that he desired. And then we had a recommendation from your Planning Commission back in September. So this is going to be a 5-star motor coach resort, the goal of being one of the finest that we can have here in the state of Florida. Certainly, like I said, it'll be very unique here in Lake County. Top-notch amenities such as a luxury pool, restaurant, marina, pickleball courts, dog park, boat slips, bathhouses, etc. No long-term residents, so the max that you can stay there is 6 months. These are not platted. These are not for sale. These are not fee simple ownership. This is meant to be for people transient. I know there's a negative connotation to that word, but meaning they're not staying as permanent residents. And then our goal here, again, is for a luxury community that I think the community is going to be really proud of. It's going to increase property values in the area. Some conceptual renderings. You can see on these that the RVs pull up next to those different types of cottages that we have, and we just have to figure out how many we can get on the lakefront. Those would go for a higher price point than the interior sites would, even if they didn't have cottages, but we're planning on putting the cottages, as many as we can, around that lakefront area. With our request for having a lodge element, the 250, we're not going to be exceeding that number for a total. So if we would have a lodge, we would have to subtract from the number of 250 for any units we exchanged in a small lodge if we were to put one in there. So we're not trying to have 250 in addition to some unknown amount of other lodge rooms. So we just wanted to make that clear that those were the total number of units, for lack of a better word. This shows you the different types, and again, conceptual, we still have to go through a lot of permitting to do marinas and boat slips and things of that nature, but our hope is that we're going to have that waterfront restaurant, marina, as well as a pool fronting the lake, something that I think the neighbors had expressed too. They were very excited for us to be able to bring. Just a couple more conceptual renderings. You can see the bathhouse in that photo. Again, really nice amenities, not your average camping shared showers if you have ever been to one of those. Different types of sites, so different price points with our deluxe, standard, waterside, or bungalow sites. Those just come with different amenities. Some have different outdoor furniture. Some may have fire pits and cooking areas outside. Others may just be your standard parking spot. All of our parking spots are designed so you can pull the RV in and go all the way through. So RVs won't be doing 250-point turns to get out of their spots. They will just be pulling right in and right out for ease of access for all of them. Again, some more conceptual renderings of what those small structures look like. This is another image of what those bathhouses are with private shower areas as well, and some common space in the middle. Again, your Planning and Zoning Division recommended approval for some reasons that were outlined in the staff report, so our request is consistent with those. I did just want to bring up for the record, because it didn't make it in, the Planning Commission had a couple of changes that they approved. I've sent those over via email to you all just to make sure that if they get approved tonight, they had to do with, first, it's Section 5E6 about garbage receptacles, 1 for every 50 spots and every 10. We have found that in the functionality of these types of uses, if you have 1 for every 10, the garbage truck coming and stopping at every 10 provides sort of a nuisance for our users. So we have that garbage receptacle 1 for every 50. We have strict standards of conduct also, so that you cannot leave garbage outside of your unit, so you can't just leave it outside your door. But there are things like valet trash pickup that are available as part of the use. And we have a condition in here that says the owner has to ensure garbage accumulation is monitored on a daily basis as well. In Section 5F, we added in some flexibility that required parking spaces for our restaurant lounge will be determined by city staff at site plan review based on the inclusion of golf cart parking spaces and RV guest spaces. We just want to make sure your code is strict on the number of spots that you have to do for restaurants, but this is a little bit different because we have a restaurant that has pickleball courts, we have restaurants that have a marina included inside the building, and we also have guest spaces in other parts of the site as well as golf cart spaces. So we just want to be sure that your staff thinks it's a sufficient amount of parking per code, but that we can account for some of those parking spaces that your code otherwise currently doesn't acknowledge. In addition, for sidewalks, we noted that the sidewalks are not constructed in internal portions of the property that are dedicated just to RV spaces. It's not common in any of the upscale places that you have sidewalks on both sides where you have the RV pull-ins as well. And then finally, the one that we were going to add in, well, not finally, 2 more. Section 10C would be that only the RVs cannot connect to city sewer, so that's the acknowledgement of the condition that we needed to place, that the RVs are not connecting to city sewer, but our bathhouse, our restaurant, our marina, those would be able to connect, and that's just a clarification item. And finally, Section 3A, to add that number 12, that a hotel/lodge, complementary and accessory to the upscale RV glamping project, which will be permitted in accordance with C3 standards, and any such units utilized in the hotel lodge will be counted against the overall allowable RV spaces permitted herein. So that was a lot. Happy to answer any questions if you have any, and we have our team here too as well.
Yeah, no, thank you. I obviously should have had you come to the podium a little sooner, but any questions from the commission?
I like all the changes. I hate RV parks, but that property's so ugly, I was going to be okay with just a regular RV park. So this is a whole lot nicer.
This has really turned into.
So yeah,
This has really turned into a nice product. No, thank you. I don't want to go sideways on this, but when Al made a comment to me about the not taking their sewage, I said, well, it's on the lake. Yeah, that kind of bothered me. I mean, we're trying to get rid of septic tanks, especially on the lakes, and Al's probably going to thank me later for this one, but it's hard for me to understand what I could put down an RV into the sewer through an RV compared to what I could put through at the public restroom or the house next door. But I'm trying to protect our lake.
Yeah, and the issue comes down to some...
And I don't know what's customary around the state. I mean...
Typically antiquated concerns, but concerns nonetheless, and we've had some extensive conversations with your Public Works Department about the use of like formaldehyde and other types of solvents to break down that waste that's inside of RV tanks.
Okay, see, I didn't know that. Okay.
And that was the reason, because there's less control over what goes in, is what the city has described to us as to why they have a prohibition on that RV hookup. Again, more literature today suggests that really is not how any modern RVs are being designed with those types of solvents, but your city expressed that as a concern. We understand that's in your code. Your code is not being amended, so that's why we're asking for clarification that we will connect to city sewer otherwise, but that concern was generated from your staff in terms of dumping RV tanks into
Okay,
city sewer.
you can see I don't know. Al has a camper, so he speaks fix this language, number one. But you can see my concern. I was trying to help number two, and number three is trying to help protect the lakes.
Sure, no, understood.
Will there be any stations out there to empty their RVs to?
Meaning for the well, RV owners would be responsible for any emptying of the waste from
Right,
their
but I
own
mean,
camper.
there will not be any stations out there for them to empty
No.
there. They'll have to take somewhere else
It's
to
going to be a
empty.
holding tank.
Yeah,
I mean, we're not going to do septic
Yeah.
because of the water.
Right, but I mean,
But I'm
there-
saying we're not having dedicated holding tanks for people to dump that then get picked up. They go do that off-site on their own.
No, so if I can comment.
Name
So
on the record.
Yeah, hey, my name is Enon Winkler, Other Street, 2096 Hertz Alley, Orlando, Florida, 32814. So we found out about 3 weeks ago that we couldn't connect to city sewer, so it was kind of a surprise. And we've tried to do everything we can in the meantime to kind of re-engineer and rethink through that. I think that the goal on that would be to, we'd have a holding tank, and we'd put the holding tank as far away from the water, and we'll get that through design. But that holding tank would support the sewage, and then which we'd have to have a company come and pump that out on a regular basis.
I just want to make sure that somebody doesn't stay there to the point where they don't have nowhere to empty their tank and end up emptying it on the ground or something. But so
No,
there will be something on site they can empty
Yes,
into.
yes,
Okay.
yeah.
And there's no way for you to treat it and put it into our system? Is that just too difficult?
You know, the honest answer is we're still trying to figure this
Okay.
one out. It
Okay.
was-
I didn't mean to go sideways on you. My focus was the lakes, but I've learned something.
Well,
so thank you.
and that goes back, and let me just say that, you know, when we started this project, and this is my first development, so excuse me. When we started the project, the thought was that we would develop the wetlands. But then as we learned more about the wetlands and so forth, and talking to St. John's and having pre-app meetings, what we've really run into is that they don't want the wetlands developed, and we get it. So now we're trying to pivot here and go, okay, how do we protect the wetlands but still get the density we need as a project? Because we're just trying to be good neighbors to all. I mean, Brittany Estates, the doctor behind us. So, we're trying to work through that and say, okay, if we don't impact the wetlands, which, a lot of people like to impact the wetlands, and that's not, something we would potentially like to do, but we're not going to do it. Let's try to stay away from the wetlands and make the project work away from the wetlands. So that's kind of the pivoting that's happening
Okay.
here.
Okay. No, thank you for all that. Any other comments from the commission?
Well, I think the lounge will be much needed in this area. Hotels are always full, so if you can go up, I think that would be a good, nice addition to that property.
And it'll be more of a lodge. And when you think of hotel and lodge, there's a difference. So, and the reason this concept came up is in Pigeon Forge, they have a Margaritaville. And I went there this summer because I wanted to start looking at high-end RV parks and lodges. So in Pigeon Forge, I went to the Margaritaville Lodge and RV Park, and it was amazing. So as we debated on what to do and how to square off against the wetlands, we're like, well, if we don't impact the wetlands, then we need to get density, and then the lodge made a lot of sense because they go really hand in hand together. So.
Okay. No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other comments, commissioners? Any public comments? If none, a roll call.
Commissioner Connell,
Yes.
Commissioner Christian,
Yes.
Commissioner Burry,
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck, Mayor Peterson.
Yes. Would someone please introduce 6A8?
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, ratifying revisions to the form of ballot question number 1 from the version appearing in ordinance number 22-43, providing for inclusion in the Code of Ordinances, providing for severability, providing for conflict, and providing for an effective date.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Comments from the commission? Any public comments? If none, roll call.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Burry?
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck? Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Mayor Peterson.
Yes. First reading of ordinances, we have none. Non-routine items, none. Informational reports, we have the financial reports in the packet. Any comments on those from the commission? City attorney items.
No reports this evening, Mr. Mayor. I always enjoy being with everyone. Thank you for having me again tonight.
Thank you, Grant. And I'll get this quasi-judicial procedure down yet. Yeah, maybe by the end of my term.
We'll keep working on it. Work in progress.
City manager items.
No issues.
Roll call.
Commissioner Christian?
Maybe for Al or the chief, Former Commissioner Bob Bone had something, a racial slur, spray paint in front of his business today, I think, and he texted me and Al, said he called the police department, and they basically said they couldn't do anything. But I would like Chief, someone could be here to. I think we should have an investigation open. There's a school across the street that should have cameras. Morrison may have a camera, but I think we just can't allow people to feel like they can spray paint racial slurs in front of people's business to intimidate, harass, or whatever. I think we as a city need to make a strong statement that it won't be tolerated, and we're going to do whatever we can with our law enforcement community, those who may know something, to report whoever's involved. We are a progressive city. We are moving forward, and I just think we need to make a bold statement that won't be tolerated for our business owners in Leesburg.
If I can I add?
Yeah, you got it.
Just to update the commission, yeah, I received a text that Mr. Bone submitted to myself, and Commissioner Christian was on the text string. I don't know what, it was about 2. I was in a meeting with Cliff and Robert Beltran from Dewberry Engineering on wastewater and water issues pretty much most of the afternoon. So I received Mr. Bone's text on my phone and saw it probably about 4:15 this afternoon. I responded back to Mr. Bone. The issues that Commissioner Christian brought up were the graffiti/hate crime, where something was written on the street, which is public, in front of Mr. Bone's business, and that complaint that from Mr. Bone was specific that when he called the city, the response from the city about cleaning it up was less than professional, and it was basically, we don't need to clean that up. It's not our problem. It's a you problem, which was unquestionably the wrong response. So I will clear that up, and I asked Mr. Bone who he spoke with, who got that answer, because that was wrong. So we'll investigate that. With reference to getting the matter cleaned up, I told Mr. Bone that we would get that cleaned up promptly. It was in our right-of-way. It was hate crime/racial slur. Public Works, as of this evening, did get that cleaned up. So actually, as the meeting was starting, I text back Mr. Bone a picture of the street. I'll go double check that to make sure that that is cleaned up to satisfaction after the meeting. So on that end, we handled that appropriately, but we'll definitely look into figuring out who responded back with that's not a city issue to clean up, when it certainly was.
What about the investigation part, Al? Did we check local businesses?
I specifically left in reference to the police brutality part. That part.
No. Just who did it? I mean.
Oh, I don't know. You saw the text string, so I didn't get a specific name from Mr. Bone, but we'll pin it down. And he said he spoke to the police department, so I'll speak with Chief, and we'll find out. Well, that's all I think I can say. I don't, I want to make sure there's 3 sides to every story. So
I don't speak for Commissioner Christian, but I think he means like find out who spray painted it.
Oh, on that side.
Yeah. That's right.
We'll investigate that. And that's there aren't cameras everywhere in the city, so finding out who spray painted that is like finding the needle in the haystack, and we'll do our best on that. My position on this was the response from the city.
I know, but I'm thinking if I'm Mr. Bone and I call the police department, somebody spray painted, I would hope we would say we're going to open an investigation. Even if it's me, I'm going to knock on the school. Do you have cameras? I'm going to go to Morrison. Do you have a camera? Let me check it out, and we'll get back with you. Not that we don't want to. I mean, the least we can do is open an investigation. That was my concern. We make a statement that if you do something, we're not going to say needle in a haystack. May not have a camera. Everybody got a Ring doorbell. So maybe it's a little investigative type thing at 2 o'clock between this time. Did anybody ride by Main Street? I mean, it's Main Street. It's not like it's in the back of the corners. It's on the public right of way. Business owner. I mean, we can't just let people feel like they can intimidate people. I mean, I think if we do that once, it's going to happen again, and we just got to make a statement. That's all.
That's more clear. I got it. Yep.
Commissioner Burry?
Yeah, one thing, we talked last meeting a little bit about fluoride, and I was working on that, so maybe we're not gonna let that go, so we want to stay after it. We want to. No, we just wanted to bring that up. That maybe next time we'll have some more information on that.
Commissioner Roebuck?
So I did read some information on fluoride, and it's interesting. So, like, where does this negativity on fluoride come from? And so it comes from a study that was done India, Nepal, that area. And it's interesting because the group where there's like naturally really high levels of fluoride, and so the group where they said, okay, these people have really high fluoride and they had some deformities. And then this group with low fluoride. The group of low fluoride, they didn't have deformities. Well, the group of low fluoride was exposed to a level like double what the lowest the state of Florida will allow. So yeah, it's all complete bogus, the whole like negativity surrounding it. So anyways, that was interesting, but I would be interested in what it costs, of course. But yeah, so interesting stuff. On the electric rates, I know FMPA has been sending some stuff out, and I actually filmed a spot with Jacob Williams, CEO, today to talk about the electric background and kind of what's going on. And while no good news in the very short term, like in the little bit intermediate term, we've been able to go out and through the FMPA and hedge our gas costs starting in like, I say what, probably like April, we'll start seeing a drop in our wholesale cost. I mean, we still got to have some recovery to do, but like there is an end in sight based on where they've hedged out, not to what it was 2 years ago, but not to where it was this summer. So like, some improvements coming this summer is all I could say.
Let me translate that. FMPA did a really super great presentation probably about 2 weeks ago on what they have done to curb the gas price increase. So I'll send this presentation out to the commission, and I've been working now the last couple of days on trying to, what do these numbers mean for Leesburg? So a couple of great charts in there, and typically when FMPA, in the good times, when